Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you guys my Chouchou deck profile for August 2017. Finished a lot of Bermuda decks with my latest case opening, and this was one of them. I was pretty happy to get done. I think it was the most hype deck out of all the Bermuda Triangle decks in the new set. But let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. I run 4 Chouchou Headliner Lapria. This is probably your main stride of the deck, just for the consistency she plays with it. You counterblast 1, choose a face-down card with the same card name as this unit from your G-Zone, turn it face up. When this unit attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, for up to 2 of your rear guards for each face-up card in your G-Zone, and you put them on the bottom of your deck, then you draw the same number of cards for the number you put. And if you have a heart with Chouchou and its card name, draw a card. And then if you drew 4 cards or more in total, choose up to 5 cards from your hand, call them separate rear guards. In a sense, it is kind of like Olivia, but Olivia, you return to your hand and call. This card can completely recycle your field. So let's say you have some pretty bad rear guards to call. You could put them back, draw, plus the additional +1 if you have the Chouchou heart, and then just call out a whole new arsenal that maybe even your opponent won't be able to see what is coming. Nonetheless, still run the 4 Olivia. She is still good as generic, just because sometimes you might not be able to meet the full requirements for Lapria, and you just like to have this card as a backup. Plus, Olivia gets the extra critical with her effect, which can't go wrong there. That's awesome pressure, along with the additional 2 rear guards you'll call with her own effect. Also, 2 Perfect Performance Angie. This card allows for bouncing of your rear guards and your opponent's zones for additional effects. Depending on how many you return, she'll get plus 5,000 power, and the more you add on, you draw a card, and then if 7 or more were returned, it gets a drive +1. It can also return lock units, which is incredible for the fact that you can take care of your lock zones, putting your opponent in that situation that they wanted to keep them locked. But the fact that you have to be careful about which cards of your opponents you want to return to their hand. So most of the time you want to attack with this unit first, then you have them return their grade 2s, which they would have been able to intercept with anyway. And 2, actually just 1, Chouchou Lillinelle. It's a pretty good first turn stride. When an attack hits, you choose one of your rear guards, return it to your hand, or put it on the bottom of your deck. You put it on the bottom of your deck, you draw 2 cards. Pretty standard there for the recycle capabilities of Chouchou. And then for the G Guardians, I run 2 Engage Lead Platey. You Soul Blast 1, choose a rear guard with Chouchou and its card name, put it on the bottom of your deck. When this unit is placed on guard circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card, and it gets +5 shield until the end of the turn. So the draw recycling continues with the trend, with the +5 shield is just that extra bonus. Also, 1 Sandy, she gains power for every 2 cards in your hand, which is pretty good. You have to unflip a G guard to use this effect as well, and it's a counterblast, so just keep that in mind. And 1 Chouchou Palfy, pretty generic, +5 for just having 3 or more cards in your hand. And then Leona has the bounce effect, which allows for the +5 shield if you call that unit with the same name as the one you bounce to the guard circle. And that is it for the stride zone. We will now move on to the main monster zone. I run 4 Chouchou Debut Stage Tirua. This card has a free stride cost if during your ride phase you have 1 or less rear guards. Pretty great how they're doing that with a lot of grade 3s now, just for a free stride cost. And then you counterblast 1 when your G unit strides. If you do, you reveal the top card of your deck, put it in your hand, and if it is a card with Chouchou in its card name, choose up to 1 of your rear guards, put it on the bottom of your deck, and draw a card if you did. So extra consistency, since you're going to have, Chouchou cards, which is what I'm, running the majority of with the deck, just for that consistency. The free stride cost is just an extra bonus to keep cards kept in your hand for later things like rear guard calling and guarding. Also, 3 Chouchou Marissa. This is a backup grade 3, which has a rear guard and vanguard effect. Most of the time, though, you do want Tirua on your vanguard. Choose one of your other rear guards, put it on the bottom of your deck. When this unit attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 1 grade 2 or lower. Chouchou and its card name from your hand, call to rear, gets plus 4,000. So the good thing with this one, it is the multiple attacks situation, which comes in handy a lot on the rear guard. Also 4, Chouchou Ayana. It's a Counterblast 1. Put this unit on the bottom of your deck when your other rearguard with Chouchou in its card name is put into your deck. You may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card. Choose up to 1 card with Chouchou in its card name from your hand, call it to rear, and it gets plus 3,000. She just continues the effect of, consistency for attacks and the putback trend that this deck entails. Also 4, Listella. This card is a Soul Blast 1. Choose one of your other rear guards and put it on the bottom of your deck. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card and plus 2,000. So the best thing about this whole deck is that it keeps the consistency so you don't minus yourself at all with the cards you put back since you do draw. So it's like you're cycling through your whole deck, just trying out new things, grabbing new cards for different situations. And to finish up the grade 2s, I run 3 Chouchou Blanche, Soul Blast 1, and choose one of your other rear guards with Chouchou in its card name, put it on the bottom of your deck. When this unit is placed on rear, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at 4 cards from the top of your deck, reveal 1 card with Chouchou in its card name, not name Blanche from among them, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck, and then if you put a card in your hand, this unit gets plus 2,000 power. Now the biggest thing with this deck is that you use up your resources heavily, including your Counterblast, your Soul. Literally all the cards in this deck have a cost like that. None of them come off free. I think the grade 3 might be the one exception for no Soul or Counterblast usage, but that's one thing you have to be sparing with the cards in this deck. And for grade 1s, 4 of the Perfect Guard, Tino. She has a putback effect from the drop zone where you choose another Tino from your drop zone and you put it on the bottom of your deck. When your rear guard is put into your deck during your turn, you may pay the cost, which is a Counterblast. If you do, return it to your hand. So just graveyard consistency. You can guard early game, like using a Tino, dropping a Tino, putting back the Tino to add back the Tino, since you know you're going to be putting cards back, and then you know you'll get her back later on. And for Clenis, this card is basically your Abyssal Owl for this deck. Now, this card is a Soul Blast, and put it on the bottom of your deck at the end of the turn. If you have a Tsundere Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, countercharge 1. It has the same check top 7 effect as Abyssal Owl to reveal and then put in the drop zone. My one complaint with this card is that you put it in the drop zone, and Abyssal Owl, greatly benefited Luar just by being able to drop grade 1s into the drop zone. This card, however, not so much, because this deck doesn't really benefit from the drop zone. It still has that effect, and I think that is interesting, but like I said, just the fact that it doesn't have the same basic capabilities for play as Abyssal Owl just puts me kind of a loss for why they would do it like that. And 3, actually make it 4, Chouchou Mary. Counterblast 1, choose one of your other rear guards with Chouchou in its card name, put it on the bottom of your deck at the end of the battle that this unit boosted. A Vanguard with Chouchou in its card name, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card, choose up to 1 card from your hand, call it to rear. So, kind of that Pale Moon vibe you get from this card for the multiple attacks after it boosted. Can't go wrong there, but like I said before, watch your Counterblasts, because you will use them up pretty fast. And 3, Prayer. This card is a Soul Blast when placed on rear. If you have a Vanguard with Chouchou, you can pay the cost. If you do, choose 1 card with Chouchou from your hand, call it to rear in the same column as this unit. So just more consistency plays to go off of with this card. And then for grade 0s, your starter is Hulala. It's a put into the soul when your other rear guards put into the deck. You may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 2 cards with Chouchou and from your hand, call them separate rear in the same column. Just more consistency to go off of in your plays. Plus she builds up the soul, and she is a free cost, thank God for that fact. You don't have to use a Counterblast or anything like that. Unlike Sarah, which is the critical we got for this deck, she actually requires a Counterblast. I find that quite disappointing just for that fact, in which you Counterblast 1, put her into the soul at the end of the battle at your Vanguard. Attack, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card, choose up to 1 card with Chouchou from your card name from your hand, call it to rear, and it gets plus 5,000. So kind of a reverse trigger in that sense, for the fact that it gives the rear guard the plus 5, but still good for the sense that you still get the draw and the end of the soul effect. But the fact that she's a Counterblast is kind of disappointing in my opinion. And then 4, Ayeta. This is the critical 4. Chouchou. Like I said, just like to keep the trigger lineups as Chouchou for the fact that you'll benefit if you do reveal them with Tsundere. Same with Pite, 4 of her, but she has the +3 into soul effect, which I think is awesome that they got in the trial deck. It just helped immensely since they don't have to run the other draw for the soul, which does not have Chouchou in its card name. And for Rochelle, this is the Chouchou heal trigger, which like I said before, I'm just running for that sole reason. If you want to run the latest heal with the effect from the Fighters Collection, by all means go ahead and try that as well. If you want to go off of more of that effect, then Tirua's own effect for the additional benefit of putting back and drawing. But yeah, that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Once again, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And until next time, Kira Qualia out.